Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is about the Super Bowl shootings over the weekend in San Jose. The mass shooting, where 7 people were shot, is very key here. I'm sure a lot of you know that it's a kind of propaganda event, even though I'm told that it involved gangs. In terms of, I've seen a video about it. There's one gentleman who makes videos about these incidents, and he seems to be right a lot of the times. Said that there's video out there showing gang members who were shot and bleeding all over the place and what have you. Now, before I explain how this connects to me, I want you all to write down the word sorcery. Write down the word sorcery, also the word Eri, E-R-I-S. And next to it, put the Igbo tribe, I-G-B-O, where the G is silent. It's also spelled I-V-O. And put Greek mythology, a different deity in Greek mythology, which is a deity of chaos and discord that's associated with the Greek god of war, Ares, A-R-E-S. So sorcery, right? Source Eri. It's talking about Igbo Eri because it has to do with juju, witchcraft. Juju, Jupiter and Juno. The Jews, juju, which is West African witchcraft, and things associated with that, like one's libido, one's ego, kind of psychological, psychology-based social orders, what have you. I'm not into witchcraft. I don't like the occult. I despise the occult. I know some people who are occultists are friendlier than others, and so on and so forth. But I'm not going to hesitate to say I utterly detest the occult, and I think that everyone should stop doing that stuff immediately. Now keep in mind also, this isn't what happened, and what's happening is not my fault. The people who do this are Satanists. They're sadistic. They have sexual sadism disorder, okay, and sadism disorder in general, and they like sexual control. And the more you kind of feed into it, the more crazy they get. We've seen it over time with the timeline that the more people do what they say, the more people suffer. We've seen it in Rome. We saw it with Nazi Germany. We see it here in America. We see it in Russia. We see it in the governments all over the world. Okay, the more people don't face them, the more they hate them, and the more they abuse them, because their complex has to do with people thinking a certain way that costs them. And that's another story for another day, really. Okay, that's another story for another day. They don't like when people go out like punks. To make a long story short, part of it has to do with the military rights of Zeus. Okay, and Zeus is like the central deity of Greek mythology. His young counterpart is Dionysus, and so if you're like a military-minded person, you see people not manning up, or you're someone in the church, you see people not being morally precise, and like pisses you off. Think of like a psychotic nun with a ruler, smacking some kid's hands, pissed off. Okay, they don't so much mind if that person corrects them in regards to what God wants, and they kind of snap out of it. But they don't like people misbehaving. And that's part of how you get this society where you get this sadistic people that tempt you to misbehave, then they punish you for it. It's a story for another day. Let me stick to the story here. Let me not get sidetracked here. So there was a Super Bowl shooting, right? And I connected the Super Bowl, the word super, to is rapes, right? Interchangeable vowel, second word L. And of course, I don't worship the deity L. The alphabet. So you exchange the vowels with the appropriate vowels, you get the word rapes from super. And bo is a play on words for Igbo, where the L can be an I. Okay, that's a story for another day too, but that connects to this thing here. So how do I know for sure this connects to me? Because it has to do with 2 females, at least I'm told, and it has to do with norteños, and it has to do with an event in San Jose. And I've already been on record with my story. I have a playlist, like 130 videos, maybe 40 of them or 50 of them are me telling the story, and other ones are videos that are connected to it. And in that playlist, I tell the story of being at a music in the park event where there's a bunch of Northerners standing around. And I'm with 2 other mulattoes, okay, and I'm with a big Samoan guy, and the 2 other mulattoes are bigger than I am, and I'm 6'4" and about 200 pounds, what have you. So we're walking through, and they're kind of minding their own business, and they hit me with technology, okay, the government, that is. They hit me with technology. They have technologies that can cause mass shooting. They can make you agitated. They can make you suggestible. These technologies are to take advantage of women, to take advantage of children, to make it so they have trouble being consistent with their stories. There's a lot of stuff like that they do with these technologies. So they can also, and it's been like this for several decades, believe it or not, they can hack your brain and cause you to do things you otherwise wouldn't do. So they put me in a certain state of mind where I start feeling very hostile. I start thinking about how women shun me in life and things that piss me off. And so I start staring at these Norteños. They're called Northerners, and they're from, XIV gang, Norteño gang, what have you. And so there's about, I want to say like maybe 10 to 15 of them. And they're dressed like, in red. They're dressed like straight gangsters, and they're handling like G's, right? They're handling like gangsters. They're not mad dogging me back, whatever you want to call it. They're not looking at me hard. And so, as I'm walking through it, there's this guy from Seaside, this older guy from the Seaside Crips, and he's like saying, okay, who do you know? And he doesn't want to be blamed for it because he can tell that I see myself as a Crip, and that I'm rolling with these guys. He kind of ignores the people I'm with, and he zooms in on me. And he says, who do you know, right? And he's gonna and so he starts talking with some of the Northerners there about the issue, what have you. Okay, but before that anything comes of that, one of the female Northerners must have said the N-word, but not to me. They said it to each other, like, why are we taking this shit from this black guy? This N-word, and this kind of light-skinned Cuban-looking chick. I don't know what race she was exactly, but she was a Northerner. She had, the typical outfit, and she had a tattoo on her breast. She wasn't like naked or something. She was wearing something that showed cleavage, what have you. And she starts speaking very loud so like I can hear it, and causing a disturbance in the whole park. And she says, my cousins are black and this, and this, and she starts making a big fuss. And so I start feeling bad, right? Because I knew that I had kind of started that issue. Okay, and notice it was two chicks arguing. It was two chicks. The guys there are playing it like G's, right? They're shaking. The police come up, they start talking to some of these guys. They start saying, hey, no, we got this, we'll handle it, da da da. They start saying this type of stuff. I don't hear most of what they're saying, but I can kind of tell by how they're behaving that they're like, hey, tell them to cool it, what's going on here, what have you, and they're kind of breaking it down for him. Now, there's not much more to the story than that. I kind of continued the rest of the day feeling like, a tough guy, feeling like a jerk, staring at people walking around, kind of taking out on society all the BS, all the targeting that I've been. Oh, I forgot why that was happening. One of the mulatto guys who was with me said, hey, I'm not supposed to help you out, right? I don't know how these other guys feel, but, so it gave away that this person was targeting me as well. So even though I'm walking with these three big guys, they don't really have my back in a sense, right? One of them kind of does, the rest of them don't really. But we're all together, so we're walking together, and the other side doesn't know that. And this is a kind of a recurring theme in my life where, I had to stand on my own 10 toes, making me far harder than the other people in the streets who were used to having people have their back. So I thought more strategic, I thought more tactical, I thought more deadly as a result, because I didn't quite understand why, and had to do with the targeting. So anyway, there's the shooting in San Jose, right? And they said that two chicks started the shooting. And there was some other shootings. I think some two older Sureños killed a younger Sureño. And there's some connection there. I haven't done as much research into it because these events come up like left and right. I get like maybe 3-4 events on average, at least every day, that are connected. And why that is, again, write down the word sorcery, because the source of the propaganda psychology designed to have psychological moments is what they're called. Moments where people go, whoa, and it influences how they vote, how they think, who they date, you name it, right? What they wear, it influences like your life, right? PSYOP units want to control moods, emotions, behaviors, and sentiments. So that happened. Now, again, when I look back at it, it's like painful because, first of all, I wasn't myself. Second of all, I'm the type of guy who gets along with everybody. I have bad days like other people. I was a younger person. Maybe I was like in my 20s, maybe early 30s. I don't remember how old I was. And it was rather unfortunate, And, yeah, I go as far as say, even though it's not my fault, I'll go as far as say, even though the blame isn't on me, I'm going to go ahead and say that, for whatever part of it that people might think it was, then I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and say, well, someone's walking by and I wanted them to get the wrong idea, make me saying this like I'm a bad guy or something. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm sorry for whatever part I had in it, but let's face it, it's not my fault, but because I go out of my way to be logical and fair, I'm going to go ahead and say that. But no one got hurt, what have you. But later in this other event, these people built on that, right? Like the Tower of Babel, the Tower of Confusion. Babel means confusion, or it's related to a Hebrew word that means confusion. You can look it up. They have the word babe. Babe L, baby line, right? You know, a hot chick, a hot babe. Those two chicks arguing. There's a lot of connections here. So I went way over time. There's not much memory on my phone. I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions, put in the comments.